connection. I'm Mira Rubin, and this we here we are on Enlightened World Network, and uh, today's topic is growing pains, and looking at how in the process of growing we often experience mourning for the parts of us that we're letting go. So it should be an interesting conversation. I look forward to it as always. But before we get started, let's just take a minute or two to get present. And let's take a deep breath in through your nose and hold it. And imagine fresh, clean, clear oxygen just flowing into your lungs, flooding your bloodstream, nourishing your cells and your organs. And as you exhale, exhale any tension, any stress, any negativity or fatigue. And now let's take another deep breath in through your nose and hold it. And this time, imagine brilliant bright light lighting you up from the inside out, electrifying, energizing, illuminating all your electrons, all your molecules, lighting your cells up from the inside out to give you a glow out into the world. And as you exhale, exhale any remaining stress and tension, fatigue, negativity. And now let's just gently press our palms together and very softly, softly, softly rub your fingers against your palms and feel that wonderful, wonderful sensation of those nerve endings just coming alive. And welcome, welcome, welcome. It's great to be here with you today, as always. I so cherish these mornings with you. Good morning, Robert. It's great to see you here. So, welcome, welcome. We're talking about growing pains. And, I think it's so interesting. If you remember being a kid, good morning, Rosalind. Welcome, welcome. I don't know about you, but I used to get these terrible Charlie horses, as my bones were growing, as my muscles were growing and stretching, I used to get these really deep aches in my body as I was literally having growing pains. And I think that that is metaphorical too for the growth that we experience as we evolve and letting go of parts of ourselves and moving beyond parts of ourselves that we've outgrown, like outgrowing a friend, that may have been an important part of our lives, but that is the relationship is no longer nourishing or nurturing. And sometimes we just move on. It doesn't mean that we move on without melancholy or some kind of sort of sweet sadness around letting go of that part of our lives or that part of our history or that part of our identity. And it's really interesting. We've been talking about the dynamics of transformation and growth and change, and how, good morning, Suzanne, welcome, welcome, how sometimes we reassert patterns that we're in the process of releasing, that they often reassert themselves before they pass. And it's interesting. As I think of it, that happens with people that are dying often too, is that they'll be really going into a downward spiral, and then right before they die, they rally and it looks like they're going to be better, and then it's kind of like the last hurrah, and then they pass. And I think we're seeing that kind of dynamic within ourselves as we grow, as we let go and grow. And it's interesting, this whole notion of a last hurrah. But today's conversation is really more about the 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 sadness or the pain or the disorientation of growing, and transforming and evolving into the next place. We often let go of people in our lives as we evolve and grow, and we often also are letting go of patterns, and with that, there's a closing of a door on a certain part of history, of our own history, and maybe what we have considered our own identity. And the disorientation of releasing these aspects of ourselves that are so familiar often leaves us in a place that is unexplored, and that can therefore feel very intimidating, or even sometimes downright frightening, because of the lack of familiarity. Like, we don't know, there's a disorientation because we're stepping into the unfamiliar. And when we step into the unfamiliar, we can't rely on our patterned behaviors. We can't rely on the things that have given us a sense of security, right? Or predictability. And so this letting go and grow kind of idea is also choosing to face and embrace the unknown. And in facing and embracing the unknown, we can have a sense of exhilaration, and at the same time, we could have a sense of anxiety and fear. I think there's not that big a threshold between fear and exhilaration, or excitement and anxiety. And that narrow transition of experience between those those expressions is a very interesting place to play. Good morning, Marianne. Welcome, welcome. Great to have you here with us today. So we're talking about growing pains, and how uh, the letting go of aspects of ourselves that have been familiar can engender some sense of anxiety, or fear, or um, exhilaration too, but or even sadness. Sadness for uh, maybe the familiar, for releasing the familiar. You know, I think it's sort of a gentle, potentially a gentle, and a gentle melancholy, right? For letting go of old patterns, making new choices, stepping into a new way of being. The thing is that as we step into a new way of being, we often stumble, right? As kids learn to walk, they fall. It's part of learning to walk. So as we explore new ways of being, we may stumble and fall, and then the tendency might be to believe that we're not actually making progress, when in fact each fall, each stumble moves us closer and closer into the direction that we're choosing to go, as long as we choose to get back up, right? It's not how many times you fall, it's how many times you get up that counts, right? As to whether you're making progress or not, right? So sometimes as we're growing, when we see ourselves sort of stumbling and falling back. Good morning, Andrea. Welcome, welcome. Um, it may look like we haven't made any progress at all. And we may be even more critical of ourselves because we have an expectation that we're now at this new place of awareness, this new place of expression. And we don't necessarily give ourselves the grace that we need to move into the new way of being. It takes practice, it takes really embodying the new way of being into our physical selves, into our physical expression in deeper and deeper ways, and until it becomes our foundation, our new foundation. So it's interesting. I just have this image of trying to rebuild a house that's crumbling while the house is still standing. You know, there you kind of need to be leveling the house a bit before you can rebuild. And you want to make sure that you have a solid foundation. And uh, sometimes it gets messier before it gets ordered, correct? You know, like if you're having to knock down the old house, there's going to be debris everywhere, right? And even if you're excavating the foundation and reinforcing it and strengthening it's messy before it starts really emerging into its new and solid form. And I think that's very much the way that our growth occurs. It's often messy, and there's often collateral damage, shall we say, in the process, you know, as we move into new ways of being and new expressions. You know, it's like I don't know. I just thought of a trampoline. I've never been artful on the trampoline, but I like bouncing around. And you know, when you're first playing on a trampoline, you have to get a sense of how high you can jump. If you start trying to do flips and things, you're going to fall a bunch before you get to perfect it. So Rosalind says, I used to plan outings and got disappointed when people didn't show up. So I stopped planning events. I planned a recent celebration with no expectations and it turned out perfect. So I've removed that barrier and am empowered. I can do things. That's beautiful, Rosalind. That's awesome. And you know, it's interesting because I think in some respect, you know, when we plan things with expectations, that very expectation creates a resistance that maybe draws the disappointment or the circumstances that can disappoint. And here you just created a celebration without expectation. You left room for it to evolve on its own and in its own way, and and left space, it sounds like, for you to enjoy it regardless of what the outcome was. So that's pretty awesome because you left room for yourself to enjoy whatever showed up. And congratulations, yes, you definitely can do things. And it sounds like it was a joyful experience for you all the way through. So that's awesome. Congratulations on that massive breakthrough, right? Because it may have been that the expectation that you had previously, you might have actually had an expectation of disappointment in some regard. You know, sometimes we have these underlying agendas that aren't particularly visible to ourselves, and we 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 set things up with um, with kind of a, well, like I said, a negative expectation without even realizing it. And then when that expectation is fulfilled, we're disappointed because that's what we set up for ourselves in some respect. So and also we may be having expectations of other people to show up in a certain way, and that can be a recipe for destruction too. Although oftentimes, again, the expectations that we have are kind of an underlying agenda that we're not even conscious of, and so we push these expectations out into the world, and then when they're fulfilled, we get to be right about how miserable things can be, right? So growing pains, I'm wondering what kinds of experiences you've had in terms of growing pains. um, it's interesting. I've noticed that at different times in my life, we talked about just a few minutes ago, talked about how sometimes your friends will change, your circle of influence, your circle of connection will change. And I've noticed at different times in my life that friends have fallen away when I've made certain leaps of growth and evolution. And it's interesting to see sometimes those friends cycle back over time. Maybe it's that we just need to create a new environment for ourselves to be able to grow into. And then as we get more solid in that new expression, then we have the ability to circle back around and reconnect with people from a different place, from a different level, uh, it, and maybe from a different place, a place of different expectation as well. So, what kinds of growing pains have you recognized? I have seen a lot of in myself and in others that I've worked with, seen disorientation or fear even of the unknown, and sense of discomfort at new experience that it just feels so unfamiliar, and how to navigate that lack of familiarity. I think we have some comfort in patterns, right? Rosalind says, growing pains in dating. I want to stop. You want to stop dating? I could understand that. I think, dating is not, in my experience, which was a long time ago. I haven't tried dating in a long, long time, but it's challenging because you're interacting with somebody that you just don't know. Rosalind says, stop dating my dad. Oh my gosh. I hear that. Oh my gosh, Rosalind, right? So they say we marry our parents. And so you just hit on such an important topic, Rosalind. Wow. That if we didn't get the attention and affection and appreciation, acknowledgement, etc., that we wanted or needed from our parents, we look for partners. And it's not just if we didn't get the appreciation and attention. I think um, in one scenario, we look for partners that enable us to work through those issues, to resolve those issues, to heal those wounds that we might have developed in the context of family, right? So yeah, that's a big deal. Those kind of growing pains. Good morning, Elaine. Welcome, welcome. So I don't know if you guys have heard of Harville Hendrix, but Harville Hendrix talks about how we choose our partners, our romantic partners, in order to heal fundamental wounds, and that our partners are chosen because they're the ones that are going to trigger all those issues to give us an opportunity to heal. However, oftentimes it's just, we don't heal, we just replay the pattern over and over again. So you might want to check out Harville Hendrix, but the dating thing, like being being in cultivating a relationship with someone who is new is really challenging. And in the dating scenario, there we come to the idea of dating with so many expectations. Elaine says all is a reflection. Yes, it is. So when we have issues with our parents, then we bring those issues into relationship, and we attract the people that are going to be vibrating at that similar or familiar frequency, right? Like we learn what love is or what relationship is through our families. And so that's what we know. We've talked about the robot previously, but that's the robot that we know is the relationships and the dynamics that we grow up with. So unless we've done tons and tons of work, and even still sometimes, even if we have done tons and tons of work, we tend to find partners or friends even that that stimulate the same or dynamic, or that we play out a familiar dynamic with. And it is a reflection, the relationships, the people that we draw in our lives. Good morning, Lisa. Welcome, welcome. The people that we draw to ourselves in our lives are people that are reflecting back to us opportunities for growth, right? And I was talking about how so many of us are really experiencing pretty intense opportunities lately to let go and grow. And maybe there's an acceleration right now of the need to really grow and evolve. And that's why so many of us are getting challenged in these ways. Elaine says, my ex-husband was a beautiful reflection in all areas. Yes, painful awakening, but so what I needed to heal. So grateful for the experiences. And Elaine, it's a tribute to you that you were able to use those experiences to grow. Sometimes the reflection is so extreme and painful that it's hard to absorb. And when we choose to look for the opportunities, hopefully it makes it easier. And some of us are blessed with the opportunity to work through that with a partner, where it's not so extremely painful that we that we actually have an opportunity to grow together. I don't know that that's as common, or as frequent an opportunity, but yeah, sometimes we grow through pain, right? We go the greatest stimulus to growth is pain sometimes, and profound challenge. So uh, we get to, we I used to have as my personal anthem, whatever doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And so I experienced lots of situations that leveled me. And now being more from the place of life is happening for me and through me rather than to me, from that place the lessons seem a lot more gentle, because I don't have to be fighting to survive every moment, you know. Elaine says, I came from extreme abuse starting at the age of 3. I came to wake up, and all my experiences have guided me through the trauma, the pain, the fear, to get better at letting go, not judging, and setting into my self worth, who I really am. Yes, truly grateful. I understand what it means to come from hell. Wow, Elaine, with the love that you express ongoingly, you have made such a profound transformation. Congratulations, and I'm just awed by you and how you have navigated the challenges of life to come to such a place of deep love and presence. So you're remarkable. Congratulations. That's amazing. And Rosalind says, distant and broken communication was familiar to me, and I continued to pursue or stay in a relationship too long. I have more clarity on what an easy and open communication looks like. That's awesome, Rosalind, and huge. Like to realize that when we become more whole, when we become more aligned with ourselves, more connected to our essential selves, to our hearts and souls, then in that wholeness, we don't need to perpetuate the old patterns. We have a greater freedom and an actual choice in the face of these patterns. We get to say, "Oh, I recognize that. I don't need that anymore." You know, what do I choose instead? I know for me, there was a big theme for years was a theme of belonging and wanting to be a part of, be included, be in connection. And I would go to great lengths and allow all kinds of abuse in order to feel that I was actually connected. You know, because I was coming from the place of there's something wrong with me. If I were different, then I could fix this, you know, or this situation wouldn't exist. And as I became more whole, I recognized, oh, this is just not a situation where that's even possible. And I learned to look in different places, and I learned to have learned to look to myself more, and in doing that I'm able to have much richer relationships because I'm not looking to fill an emptiness in me through someone else. So yes, exactly, says Lisa. So uh, it growing pains. A lot of times we do, I'm going to say, need to experience pain in order to be motivated to grow. You know, where the agony of maintaining things as they are is just so extreme that we can't do anything other than find another way of being. And Elaine says, I am not my experiences. Exactly, exactly, Elaine. I share it to say we are guided through life. All is well. Trust yourself and life moving through us. Love. Yes, indeed. Maggie's talking up a storm today? I haven't figured out what it is that stimulates her to talk sometimes and to be totally silent at others. I have no idea. I think maybe she's resonating with the topic. Not quite sure. Lisa says, my husband and I have been together 28 years. I had zero communication. I just couldn't do it anymore. I had to go to my daughter's in Georgia for 4 months last year. While I was there, the noise quieted and I began my awakening. It gave me the strength to end things. I've been mentally, physically, verbally abandoned. I've survived several near-death experiences. Now I'm clear what I don't want, and I'm defining what I do want and going for it. I'm a warrior. Lisa, congratulations. Congratulations. It's interesting, 28 years and then just to be able to have 4 months. That's 4 months saved your life for sure, right? And Elaine says Maggie's having her conversation this morning because of the energy, and your bird does the same, Elaine. That's cool. It's really cool. I do love the sounds that she makes. Anyway, Lisa says thanks to Corona. Right, so there's so many blessings that have come from Corona. I know that there are so many tragedies, but I have to say that I have seen so many blessings due to Corona. So I'm so delighted for you, Lisa. Congratulations. And thank you so much for sharing. You guys are so I, I just I don't even know the word. I was going to say courageous, and I do believe that, but I'm so grateful to you to share so authentically and to be sharing your hearts and opening yourselves to really speaking authentically who you are. It's such a gift to all of us here. And I am tremendously grateful to be in this space with you and to be sharing these times together. So I think that we're going to wrap it up today, but we were talking about growing pains, and there's been lots and lots of growth that we can all attest to here, right? And so that's it for today. I'm Mira Rubin. This is the Core Connection. This is Maggie. And we go live each weekday morning on the Enlightened World Network Facebook page. And I encourage you to check out all the other wonderful programming on Enlightened World Network. It's so wonderful to spend this time with you. So until next time, lots and lots of love.